Chapter 9, Traders, Kings, and Pilgrims. Jagini at the market. Jagni looked forward to the fair in the village. She loved to see and touch the pots and pans of shiny steels, bright plastic buckets, clothes printed with brilliant floral designs, and clockwork toys, all of which came from the city. The men who spread out of their wards came in buses and trucks, and went back at the end of the day. Why were they always on the move? She wondered. Her mother explained that they were traders, people who bought things where they were made and sold them elsewhere. How to find out about trade and traders? You read about the northern black polished ware in chapter 8. Thus, fine pottery, especially bowls and plates, were found from several archaeological sites throughout the subcontinent. How do you think it reached these places? Traders may have carried them from the places where they were made to sell them at other places. South India was famous for gold, spices, especially pepper and precious stones. Pepper was particularly valued in the Roman Empire, so much so that it was known as black gold. So traders carried many of these goods to Rome and in ships across the sea and by land in caravans. There must have been quite a lot of trade as many Roman gold coins have been found in South India. Can you think of how and why these reached India? A poem about trade. We can find evidence of trade in Sangam Poems. Here is the one which describes the goods brought into Puar, an important port on the east coast, here and brought. Swift fetching horse by sea in ships, bales of black pepper in carts, gems and gold born in the Himalayas, sandalwood born in the western hills, the pearls of the southern seas and corals from the eastern oceans, the yield of the Ganga and the crops from the Kaveri, foodstuffs from Sri Lanka, pottery from Myanmar, and other rare and rich imports. Make a list of all the things that are mentioned. What would they be used for? Traders explored several sea routes. Some of these followed the coast. There were others across the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, where sailors took advantage of the monsoon winds to cross the seas more quickly. So, if they wanted to reach the western coast of the subcontinent from the East Africa of Arabia, they chose to sail with the southwest monsoon, and sturdy ships had to be built for these long journeys. New kingdoms along the coast. The southern half of the subcontinent is marked by a long coastline, and with hills, plateaus, and rivers valley amongst the river valleys. That of the Kaveri is the most fertile. Chiefs and kings who controlled the river valley and the coast became rich and powerful. Sangama poems mention the new vendor. This is Tamil word meaning three chiefs are used for the heads of three ruling families, the Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas. See map 7, page 105, who became powerful in South India around 2300 years ago. Each of the three chiefs had two centers of powers, one inland and one on the coast. Of the six cities, two were very important. Four are Kaviripattinam, the port of the Cholas, and Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. The chief did not collect regular taxes. Instead, they demanded and receiving gifts from the people. They also went on military expeditions and collected tribute from neighboring areas. They kept some of the wealth and distributed the rest amongst their supporters, including members of their family, soldiers, and poets. Many poets whose compositions are found in the Sangam's collection composed poem in praise of chief who often rewarded them with precious stones, golds, horses, elephants, chariots, and fine clothes. Around 200 years later, a dynasty known as the Satavahanas became powerful in western India. See map 7, page 105. The most important ruler of the Satavahanas was Gautamiputra Sri Satkarni. We know about him from an inscription composed on behalf of his mother, Gautami Balashri. He and other Satvana rulers were known as Lord of the Dakshin Pata, literally the route leading to the south, which was also used as a name for the entire southern region. He sent his army to the eastern, western, and southern coast. Why do you think he wanted to control the coast? The story of the silk route. The rich, glossy colors of silk, as well as its smooth texture, make it a highly valued fabric in most societies. Making silk is a complicated process. Raw silk has to be extracted from the cocoons of silkworms, spun in thread, and then woven into clothes. Techniques of making silk were first invented in China around 7,000 years ago. While the methods remained a closely guarded secret for thousands of years, some people from China who went to distant land on route, its foot, horseback, and on camel, carried silk with them. The paths they followed came to be known as the Silk Route. Sometimes Chinese rulers sent gifts of silk to rulers in Iran and West Asia, and from there, the knowledge of silk spread further west. About 2000 years ago, wearing silk became the fashion amongst rural and rich people in Rome. It was very expensive as it had to be brought brought all the way from China along dangerous roads through mountains and deserts. People living along the road often demanded payments for allowing traders to pass through. Look at the map, page 76 to 77, which shows the Silk Route and its branches. Some king tried to control large portion of the route. This was because they could benefit from taxes, tributes, and gifts that were brought by traders traveling along the route. In return, they often protected the traders who passed through their kingdoms from attacks by robbers. The best known of the rulers who controlled the Silk Route were the Kushanas, who ruled over Central Asia and Northwest India around 2000 years ago. There were two major centers of power were Peshawar and Mathura. Takshashila was also included in their kingdom. During their rule, a branch of the Silk Route extended from Central Asia down to the seaport at the mouth of the river Indus, from where silk was shipped westwards to the Roman Empire. The Kushanas were amongst the earliest rulers of the subcontinent to issue gold coins. These were used by traders along the Silk Route. Why do you think it would have been difficult to use cart along the Silk Route? Silk was also sent from China by sea. Trace the routes on map 6, page 76 to 77. What do you think would have been the advantage and problems in transporting silk by the sea? The spread of Buddhism. The most famous Kushana ruler was Kanishka, who ruled around 1900 years ago. He organized a Buddhist council where scholars met and discussed important matters. Uh, Ashwagosha, a poet who composed a biography of the Buddha, the Charita, lived in his court. Ashwagosha and Other Buddhist scholars now began writing in Sanskrit. A new form of Buddhism known as Mahayana Buddhism now developed. This had two distinct features. Earlier, the Buddha's presence was shown in the sculptures by using certain signs. For instance, his attainment of enlightenment was shown by sculptures on the people tree. Now, statues of the Buddha were made. Many of these were made in Mathura, while others were made in Takshashila. The second changes was a belief in Buddhist Bodhisattva. These were supposed to be persons who had attained enlightenment. Once they attained enlightenment, they could live in complete isolation and meditate in peace. However, instead of doing that, they remained in the world to teach and help other people. The worship of Bodhisattva became very popular and spread throughout Central Asia, China, and later the Korea and Japan. Buddhism also spread to western and southern India, where dozens of caves were hollowed out of hills for monks to live in. Some of these caves were made on the orders of kings and queens, others by merchants and farmers. These were often located near passes through the Western Ghats, roads connecting prosperous ports on the coast with cities in the Deccan ran through these passes. Traders probably look at the picture halted in these cave monasteries during their travels. Buddhism Buddhism also spread southeastwards to Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, and other parts of the Southeast Asia, including Indonesia. The older form of Buddhism known as Theravada Buddhism was more popular in these areas. Read page 100. Once more, can you think of how Buddhism spread to these islands? Look at the picture, the cave at Karle, Maharashtra.